श्री अद्वैत गदाधर शिवाचार्य गौर भक्तवृंद की जय। श्री श्री राधा कृष्ण गोप गोपीनाथ श्याम कुंड राधा कुंड गिरि गोवर्धन की जय। वृंदावन धाम की जय। मथुरा धाम की जय। नवद्वीप धाम की जय। जगन्नाथपुरी धाम की जय। जगन्नाथ स्वामी की जय। गंगा माई की जय। जमुना माई की जय। तुलसी देवी की जय। भक्ति देवी की जय। हरे कृष्ण महामंत्र की जय। सामवेद भक्तविंद की जय। निताय गौर प्रेमानंदे हरि हरि बोल। All glories to the assembled devotees. Hare
Hare
Krishna.
Krishna.
All glories to the assembled devotees. Hare
Hare
Krishna.
Krishna.
All glories to the assembled devotees. Hare
Hare
Krishna.
Krishna.
All glories to the lotus feet of Sri Sri Guru and Gauranga.
Hare Bol.
Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Krishnaya Bhutale Srimati Bhakti Tera Swami Namaste. Namaste Krishna Padaya Prabhupada Siddhartha Shri Gaura Karuna Shakti Bhakti Tera. Narayana Namaskritya Narunchevam Narottamam Devim Saraswati Vyasam Tutu Jayam Vijirayat Nashya Prayesva Bhadresu Nityam Bhagavata Sivaya Bhavatu Tamasluke Bhaktir Bhavati Naishtaki Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
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 Jai Hare Krishna, Hare Gaurish.
Hare Krishna.
Good morning, accept my humble obeisances. All glory to Srila Prabhupada. So, this morning's Bhagavatam class is from Canto 2, Chapter 9, and text 39. Canto 2, Chapter 9, text 39. Okay. Anta hitendriyartaya haraye vihitanjali sarva bhuta mayu vishwam sasajetam napurvavat. Anta hitendriyartaya haraye vihitanjali sarva bhuta mayu vishwam sasajetam sapurvavat. Anta hitendriya taya haraye vihitanjali sarvabhuta mayu vishwam sasajedam sapurvavat. Hare Krishna. Please unmute yourself and chant if you want to.
Santarhitendriyartaya Haraye Vitanjalire Sarvabhutatmayo Vishwam Sasarjedam Sa Purvata.
Hare Krishna. Anyone else?
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Antarathendiyarthaya haraye vihitanjalihi sarva bhutatmayo bhishvan shasharjedam sapurvabhat. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Antarhitendriya arthaya Hare Vihitanjali Sarva Bhutamayo Vishwam Sasarjedam Sapurvavat. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Antarhitendriyarthaya Hare Vihitanjali Sarvabhutamayo Vishwam Sasarjedam Sapurvavat.
Hare Krishna. Anyone else? All right. So, word for word, Antarhita, on the disappearance. Indriya Artaya, unto the personality of Godhead, the objective of all senses. Haraye, unto the Lord. Vita Anjali, in folded hands. Sarvabhuta, all living entities. Maya, full of. Vishwam, the universe. Sasaja, created. Idam, this. Sa, he, Brahmaji. Purvavat, exactly like before. Translation by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. On the disappearance of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Hari, who is the object of transcendental enjoyment for the senses of the devotees, excuse me, Brahma, with folded hands, began to recreate the universe, full with living entities as it was previously. Purport by Srila Prabhupada. The Supreme Personality of Godhead, Hari, is the object for fulfilling the senses of all living entities. Illusioned by the glaring reflection of the external energy, the living entities worship the senses instead of engaging them properly in fulfilling the desires of the Supreme. In the Hari Bhakti Sudhodhaya 13.2, there is the following verse. Ashnopalam Twadisha Dashanam Ki Tanopalam Twadisha Gata Sangha Vivapalam Twadisha Ketanam Hi Sudurlabha Bhagavata Hiloke. O devotee of the Lord, the purpose of the visual sense is fulfilled simply by seeing you. And to touch your body is the fulfillment of bodily touch. The tongue is meant for glorifying your qualities, because in this world, the pure devotee of the Lord is very difficult to find. Originally, the senses of a living entity were awarded for this purpose, namely to engage them in the transcendental loving service of the Lord or that of his devotees. But the conditioned souls, illusioned by the material energy, become captivated by sense enjoyment. Therefore, the whole process of God consciousness is meant to rectify the conditional activities of the senses and to re-engage them in the direct service of the Lord. Lord Brahma thus engaged his senses in the Lord by recreating the conditioned living entities to act in the recreated universe. This material universe is thus created and annihilated by the will of the Lord. It is created to give the conditioned soul a chance to act to return home back to Godhead. And servants like Brahmaji, Naradaji, Vyasaji, and their company become busy with the same purpose of the Lord, to reclaim the conditioned souls from the field of sense gratification and return them to the normal state of engaging the senses in the service of the Lord. Instead of doing so, that is, converting the actions of the senses, the impersonalists began to make the conditioned souls senseless and the Lord also senseless. That is improper treatment for the conditioned souls. The diseased condition of the senses may be treated by curing the defect, but not uprooting the senses altogether. When there is some disease in the eyes may be cured to see properly. Plucking out the eyes is no treatment. Similarly, the whole material disease is based on the process of sense gratification, and liberation from the diseased condition is re-engagement of the senses to see the beauty of the Lord, hear his glories, and act on his account. Thus, Brahmaji created the universal activities again. Oma Gyanati Vidandasya, Gyana Gyanashalakaya, Chakshu Unmilitam Yena, Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Stapitam Yena Bhutale, Swayam Rupa Kadamayam Dati Swaparantikam. Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yutapada Kamalam Shri Guru Vaishnavam Scha. Shri Rupa Sagajatam Sahagana Raghunatam Vitam Tam Sijiva. Sadvaitam, Savadutam, Parijana Sahitam, Krishna Chaitanya Devam, Sri Radha Krishna Pada Sahagana Lalita Sri Vishaka Vitamscha. He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dina Bandhu Jagatpate, Gopesha Gopikanta Radha Kanta Namostute. Tapta Kanchana Gorangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Shabanusuti Devi Panamami Haripi. Vanchakalpatarubhischa kripa sindhibhe eva chaptitanam pavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namaha. Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadha Sivasari Gaur Bhaktivinoda. Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare. Hare Ram Ram Hare Hare. Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare. Hare Ram Ram Hare Hare. Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare. Hare Ram Hare Hare. Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prasthaya Bhutale Srimati Bhakti Vedanta Swami Niti Namini. Namaste Saraswati Devi Gauravani Pracharini Nirvishesha Sunyavari Paschatya Shitarini Mo Mahabharanyaya Krishna Prema Padayate Krishnaya Krishna Chaitanya Namni Gaurati Namaha. Ananda Lila Maya Vigrahaya Himabya Devacha Vishnuraya Tasmi Mahaprema Raspadaya Chaitanya Chandaya Namo Namaste Chaitanya Chandaya Namo Namaste Chaitanya Chandaya Namo Namaste Sri Chaitanya Chandaya Namo Namaste. Hare Krishna. So the English translation again for the text is, on the disappearance of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Hari, who is the object of transcendental enjoyment for the senses of the devotees, Brahma, with folded hands, began to recreate the universe, full with living entities, as it was previously. Hare Krishna. So this is just at the end of the encounter of Lord Brahma with the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And the Supreme Personality of Godhead told him, well, let's just go first to the questions. Brahma expressed his concern that if he was to recreate, he did not want to get caught up with the material way of life that the living entities would be involved with, because he knew that many of them will do just that. Very few of them ever get a chance to go back to Godhead by the proper preparation. Lord Brahma's mind was on doing devotional service. The creation, the recreation, because, it would be recreated, the universe was to be, and he was the one assigned to it. And so he wanted to be careful not to get into a situation where he would be ensnared by Maya. So he prayed to the Lord. The Lord summarized Srimad Bhagavatam in 4 verses to him, many points about having to remember the Supreme Personality of Godhead, that he was the one, when you talk about creation of the material energy, he was there, he created the material energy, and he sustains it, and in the end, when it comes to annihilation and it's gone, he still will be there. He explains, I am the beginning and the end of everything. So that this was all to help Lord Brahma to remember Krishna while doing the activities. Similar thing was explained by Krishna to Arjuna. Yes, you're a Kshatriya. You're not fighting for you. You're fighting according to my plan. So again, fight, but remember Krishna, remember me throughout the whole thing of the service you're doing. So that comes to us devotees also. We have our senses, although they are imperfect, but they are in these bodies, and we certainly have the choice of using it for material enjoyment or to serve the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And it's been explained in the Shastra, it is the better thing to do to use the senses to serve the Supreme Personality of Godhead and his devotees at all times. And that's what Lord Brahma wanted to do. He wanted to make sure that when it comes to recreate, to create again, that he was creating in the right frame of mind, not getting into any situation where he will be bewildered by the illusory energy of the Lord. So after appealing to the Lord, then with folded hands, he began to create. The Supreme Personality of Godhead had left at that point, but also had prepared him to have the right consciousness to do the service. Srila Prabhupada says in the purport that the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Hari, is the object for fulfilling the senses of all living entities. We are supposed to serve by having at the back of our mind, we are trying to please devotees, Guru, and Krishna. This is going to have to be the way we look at things. It should be, if it wasn't, it should be now, and going forward, it should be like that. It should be like that. We are serving and we give our hearts to serve. And to make that devotional service pure, we should serve fully without expecting anything as payback from it. So the living entities are being pushed into, or to say pulled into, dealing with their own senses for their enjoyment rather than fulfilling the desires of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And that is the problem. That's what makes, living entities unhappy, especially those in the human bodies, with the intelligence and with help from the Supreme Personality of Godhead as Paramatma, guiding through intelligence. But the Paramatma doesn't force us. If you want to take the guidance, fine. If you don't want to take the guidance and go into the material energy and be just steeped in material energy, trying to satisfy, squeeze as much as we can for satisfying our own selves, then we will be miserable. Happiness is in serving the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So then Srila Prabhupada quotes from the Hari Bhakti Shuddhadaya. He says, the translation is, O devotee of the Lord. This is very interesting because this is, now let me talk about the Supreme Personality of Godhead directly. That's not. This is the devotee of the Lord. The purpose of seeing is fulfilled just by seeing you. Now remember, when we associate with the pure devotee, even 1/11th of a second, a moment, is purifying for the one who is in contact with the pure devotee. The words of a pure devotee are always one that we can get advice from, and it's exciting. I just remember now, just say something, only one quick thing about me personally. So when I was in Gideon Agri, we were serving, devotees, we were serving Shishira Damada. By that time, Guru Maharaj was living there also. At least he would travel and then come. He made that a base. And my wife and I were actually staying with him. We were direct servants of him. And anytime he called me, or I went to his room to ask him a question, every time that I came out of the room, I felt rejuvenated. There's some happiness that just came naturally every single time that happened. So this is the point. A high level devotee, when we come in contact with them and pay attention, focus on everything that he's going to do or say, we will actually immediately get some benefit from it. So back to this Hari Bhakti Shuddhadaya 13.2, the touching the body of the pure devotee is the fulfillment of bodily touch. The tongue is meant for glorifying your qualities. Because in this world, a pure devotee of the Lord is very difficult to find. So Narottam Das Thakur makes a song glorifying Sri Rupa Manjari. Sri Rupa Goswami, in the spiritual world, he's called Rupa Manjari. But in that song, he called him by his spiritual world name, Sri Rupa Manjari Pada. The lotus feet of Sri Rupa Manjari is my pleasure, my everything. So this is one devotee, Narottam Das Thakur, praising Sri Rupa Manjari, Sri Rupa Goswami. And devotees owe a lot to Sri Rupa Goswami because our nectar of instruction, our nectar of devotion, it all comes from him. Of course, the one that got all of this message to him or information to him so he could disseminate it to us is none other than the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. But the importance of the pure devotee is being stressed here. So, and Krishna himself says also that when you worship my pure devotee, I am even more satisfied than worshiping me directly. So the devotee of the Lord is such an important personality. He connects us with Krishna. Guru is representative of Krishna. Guru is empowered by Krishna. So Diksha Guru, Shiksha Guru, as far as instruction, no difference. The instructions in the pure devotee helps us so much. And it helps us to get more excited about Krishna consciousness. So Srila Prabhupada explains that the senses of the living entity are awarded to engage those senses in the transcendental loving service of the Lord, or the transcendental loving service of the Lord's devotees. But we are in the material world and we are in a marginal energy. We can turn to sense gratification, darkness, material energy, life, and try to make it all in all, or we will come to our senses and be in the light, serving the Supreme Personality of Godhead and his devotee. So the choice is ours. And so the importance of sadhusanga, association with devotees, is to cause us to remain mentally focused on serving the Supreme Personality of Godhead and not be captivated by the material energy. Therefore, when we are with devotees, we should stay more with devotees that talk about Krishna in practically everything that they say. Or talk about devotion and service to the Lord. Details of it. That's the wonderful kind of conversation that would help us to remember the Lord. So Lord Brahma, when he wakes up, he recreates. What happens is when he goes to sleep, Garbhodakshaya Vishnu is also in Brahmaluka. That's where he is. Right with his son, Lord Brahma, because it was from Garbhodakshaya Vishnu that Lord Brahma came. Lord Brahma sleeps for 4,320,000,000 years. For us, is a very long time, but that's Brahma's 12 hours. At that time, there is destruction of all of the material universes except the Mahaloka planetary system, the Janaloka planetary system, the Tapaloka planetary system, and the planetary system for Lord Brahma himself, Satyaloka. Those remain. All other planets are destroyed. So when he gets up in the morning, that's how it connects to this. He will recreate. Living entities want to come to the world based on their karma and do whatever, continue doing whatever that they want to do in a new lifetime. And that is made possible by Brahmaji recreating. So obviously to recreate, the senses of Brahmaji would be used for the purpose. And so he wanted to make sure that even though he's going to touch things involving the material energy, that he will not be pulled into any sort of maya. Srila Prabhupada says, diseased condition of the senses can be treated by the proper cure. And for us, the disease condition can be cured, especially by hearing and also by chanting the Supreme Personality of Godhead's name, the mantra, the Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare.
Hare.
The Hare Krishna Maha mantra is very purifying. And so Bhaktivinoda Thakur has explained that we shouldn't be worried about being perfect in chanting just yet. Just keep chanting chanting, because the purification will come. When we chant and make it a habit of chanting every day, then we are thinking about the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Not only that, we are also setting ourselves up for a very good chance to go back to Godhead. Because Krishna has said in the Bhagavad Gita, whatever the person that's leaving the body is thinking at that time of death, that is what he's going to obtain. Arrangement is going to be made to fulfill whatever that desire is. So the more we call on Krishna's name all day, not just with the japa, all day, think of Krishna, then that becomes the dominant thought in our mind. Therefore, when we're on our deathbed, got a few more breaths of, to take, we will be thinking about Krishna. Krishna is so merciful, he makes arrangements, literally, for devotees to be able to hear the holy name. So much so that a person who has dedicated their lives to serving, even if they die suddenly, still they will remember Krishna. It doesn't take much to remember Krishna. It doesn't take much to focus the mind on anything. In just a split second, literally, you can focus on some part of the world, just like that. In a split second. So Lord Chaitanya arranges for a devotee who is dedicated to service to the Lord, to the devotees, and to Guru, that if that person is to leave the body suddenly, that Lord Chaitanya, will force his image into the mind of that devotee. And that takes a split second to do before the actual situation comes of the person leaving the body suddenly. So even that, one who is dedicated to service the Supreme Personality of Godhead will not fall short of the opportunity to remember the Lord, even in a sudden death situation. The rest is all up to us. When the person leaves the body, when they realize it's coming, then we have to pray, we have to chant the holy name, we have to. And devotees, actually, what we could do is help that person. If we have the time to go chant for a long time and stay with that person, then that's good. If not, then take advantage of what technology has provided and get a machine that can play the Hare Krishna mantra constantly. And so that the person only needs to hear the Hare Krishna mantra. So then they will go on and like that. And that way they direct their attention and therefore the sense of hearing to the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And that's, by the way, by Krishna's arrangement, the senses begin to shut down at the time of death, but the last sense to go is the sense of hearing.
Yeah.
So if the mantra is set up in such a way that, from a device, if the devotees are actually not there to chant for one reason or another, but a device is playing the mantra continuously, that devotee will remember Krishna, because that sense of hearing will be the last one to go, and the others would go, but he still can hear. And if he hears and thinks of Krishna, Krishna says he'll go back. For all of that to happen, it depends very much on what we do now that we are awake. Do now that we have some strength, whatever energy that we have, and how we use it to serve the devotees, to serve Guru, and to serve the Lord by chanting his holy name and hearing about him, and also spreading the holy name. Remember, for those people who are so covered up that they wouldn't even hear the holy name or cannot pronounce Krishna, we still can help them by giving them some prasadam. And we can be discriminatory enough to make sure that we give them prasadam based on their culture, what they like. There was one situation in Gitanagri, there was a professor that would come once a year with the students to Gitanagri to have them get a taste of what life is like there and also describe things. He would be there only for a couple of hours, sometimes even less. The Buddhists were so kind. In the evening, he brought a bus with the students, and they were listening to a description from one of the devotees living on the dam about life in Giranagri. Very simple presentation. The devotees also said, well, they're here, so we should give them some prasadam. But they made prasadam, most of these were very few African Americans, mostly Caucasian devotees, Caucasian students that came. They had never tasted any kind of Indian food, so it was a little bit difficult for them. Most of that, what they ate, was left on the plate. So then we brought this idea to the president, and the next time they came, the management, they made some pizza, and then there were some cookies, and then the Americans are used to. Now that one they ate. In fact, they actually loved the pizza. They ate most of it. So yeah, we have to be discriminatory like that. Mm-hmm. This is this world, and people are who they are, and they like some, kinds of cuisine. So then we adjust accordingly. Then let them have it. That way, you'll have a good experience, and then whatever they hear about Krishna, that goes in. Well, I could tell a little more about it in the discussion or in the lecture, the short lecture given by the Buddha. After that was over, they were asked to ask whatever question that they wanted to. And many people were talking about, okay, so, and many of them were religionists, Christian, mostly Christian. My God, and then we're making a distinction. My God and your God, and my God and your God. They were making distinctions like that. But that was obviously, we know the God is one. And so some of us jumped in and kind of explained from a Christian standpoint up to Krishna, so that they'll have the connection that we're talking about the same God, Vishnu. Mm-hmm. But anyway, this is all help from the devotees. It's all the way help to preach in such a way that they will be able to relate to and also give prasadam that they can or they used to. Those are very important things in order for people to be more comfortable when they see us or they hear from us. Because their first impression is, well, these people are very different. They immediately say that. They're very different. We do things differently. And they don't understand. But we can meet them by using the same things that we do, eating and Krishna Prasadam, giving to them, but what they used to. That, of course, Krishna also accepts. So that way, the disease condition of the senses may be cured slowly. So Papa says the whole material disease is based on sense gratification. But then when we direct our senses to serving the Supreme Personality of Godhead, then obviously the senses are being cured then. And Srila Prabhupada says that there's no point taking out the senses, making it not functional at all. The eye is diseased, therefore you pluck out the eye. No, you cure the eye so they can be able to see properly. So that was the point the Srila Prabhupada was making. In the Perfection of Yoga, in the book Perfection of Yoga, Srila Prabhupada wrote, Chapter 4 talks about dovetailing our senses. Srila Prabhupada describes that when one was molded in his life in such a way, dovetailing his desires to Krishna's, this is like what we just talked about, cooking what is offerable to Krishna, but there's also a snack that is understood by those who are going to eat for the first time, taste prasadam. Then if we dovetail our sense, then it's to be understood that we have attained perfection in yoga. Bhakti yoga involves dovetailing our desires to Krishna's. We live in such a way that, yes, these are things that we like to do, but it is also approved by Krishna. That way we dovetail our desires to Krishna's desires. Then it's easy to serve Krishna. And we also attain perfection in yoga. And Srila Prabhupada says, just doing breathing exercises, and that's not yoga as far as the Bhagavad Gita is concerned. So we have to bring our minds to Krishna, And in that, the Papa says, we are back to yogis. We should have our mind trained in such a way that no matter what the situation is, if the mind wanders away from meditation on the Lord, that we're able to drag it back again. And it requires a great deal of practice, but it is possible. The more we pull the mind, we shouldn't be upset because the mind is used to doing that. The more we pull the mind back to the holy name, the better off we are. As a matter of fact, Sachinanda Swami, who gives lectures usually on gives workshops on the holy name, was a video that I saw of him. It was recorded of him one of his workshops, and he talked about this very thing. That sometimes when we chanting and the mind is strays, but if we're able to pull it back, that is wonderful. In fact, he says just for pulling it back, congratulations. He was actually praising the Buddhists just to pull it back. So it is actually very, very good when we able to pull the senses away from it's roaming into material things and things outside of the holy name. Personally, I just think I wish we didn't have a mind that we're chanting and the words are coming out, but then the mind roams somewhere else. I wish we didn't have that ability at all, but this is the way it is. What to do? So we have to practice having to chant steadily by pulling the mind back. But Sachinanda Swami made the point that it is very good when the mind is pulled back to the holy name. So we keep doing that, you'll find that after a while that the mind doesn't travel too much, which means it's purified some, little by little. And then we get to the point where now our heart gets into it when we're chanting, and now the mind is focused, and everything is focused on the holy name as we chant. And that gives very, very great happiness. It would also give us love of Godhead. They're all connected. They're all connected. So Srila Prabhupada explains that one must come to know that his real happiness, the real happiness for the Buddhi, is in experiencing the pleasure of his transcendental senses, not the material senses. The senses are not to be sacrificed. Now we can explain it a little bit when we're talking about a devotee. A devotee. And Srila Prabhupada is talking about the transcendental senses. Well, we know we have material senses. But in another lecture, he explained that when we purify these material senses, they become transcendental. Remember, it's not something the sense, the mind especially, the mind, you can't touch the mind. It's just a matter of shifting from one way of using it to another way of using it. When the mind is purified, this is automatically transcendental. Sri Prabhupada has transcendental mind the whole way. He was already pure. But those of us that are conditioned, when we bring our mind in such a way that it all depends on what we do. If we get determined that whatever we do will be in connection with Krishna consciousness, only taking things material as is necessary, but everything else going towards Krishna consciousness in all our activities, and even while we're doing activities that seem to be material, we are playing or doing something that reminds us of Krishna. And the easiest thing is to either sing or to hear music which is connected with Krishna, or lecture about Krishna while we're doing activities. Again, brings me back to another situation. Again, when I was in Gitanagri, again, living with Bhakti Maharaj, we go back and forth in his room because we were servants. There were times that he would clean his paraphernalia for serving his deities. And at the time that he's cleaning, he was cleaning himself, cleaning his paraphernalia. But he would call one devotee to his room and give him a spiritual book, any of Sri Prabhupada's book, and says, start reading. So the devotee would be reading and Maharaj would be cleaning as he's hearing, like that. So, of course, now there's so many devices, electronic devices that can play so we can hear. And that should be constant. That should be constant. In that way, the mind is on Krishna all the time. And of course, when you hear, then sometimes some things we never thought of, we never knew about, that will be given. So then we can learn something. Hmm? The other day, and speaking about Lord Brahma, just from reading, it came to me that Lord Brahma, yeah, does sleep at night, but there was one thing that I didn't know. That was he sleeps in the body of Garbhodakshai Vishnu. He goes into this is the day and night sleeping now. We're not talking about when Lord Brahma is leaving the body. Lord Brahma is leaving the body. Lord Brahma is leaving the body. He may go back to the body of Mahavishnu. Our Lord Brahma is not going back to Mahavishnu. He's going back to Godhead. He's been given that boon. This Lord Brahma is not going to go back to Mahavishnu's body. But the day and night, just the regular sleeping for his 12 hours day, 12 hours of night, he sleeps in the body of Mahavishnu, his father. Take it back. Garbhodakshai Vishnu in Brahmaloka. And these other planets, Mahaloka, Janaloka, Tapaloka, and Satyaloka, Brahmaloka, they're not destroyed in the nighttime of Lord Brahma. So some sages, if they are in other planetary systems and they know that the end is coming, they can, by their own mystic perfection, travel to some of these planets and be there if they don't want to leave the body when the rest of the planets are destroyed in Brahma's night. So that also goes on. So it's all about sacrificing our life here, giving it to Krishna, giving it to Krishna consciousness, doing everything we can, because Prabhupada has said so many times, try to finish your business about Krishna consciousness in this lifetime so you can go back. If you take it seriously and you are not initiated, Krishna would arrange for whoever is that's taking it seriously, that there will be somebody, some guru they'll be interested in, and the arrangement will in fact occur. Speaking about that, and it's not bragging. I'm going to talk about my daughters now. I have two daughters, and they said they were interested. They told the Tavija Swami that they were interested in taking shelter of them. So the Tavija Swami accepted that. But there was a Rath Yatra, and little did they know that Maharaj was coming to the Rath Yatra. He made the decision, I'm going to initiate the two girls at the Rath Yatra, just like that, Gita Nagri. So it was time that was put aside. It became part of the program. So after the procession, then the devotees went into the temple room, and Maharaj, started the whole process of initiation, gave them the names, and then the decision was made that the puja part of it, with the fire and all of that, that will be done right outside the temple, but in front of the samadhi for Bhakti Maharaj. They never knew. The point is, they didn't know this was coming. They were just going through Rath. Next thing they knew, they were initiated. So this is the mercy of Guru. It can happen at any time, but we have to be just putting our hearts in serving the Supreme Personality of Godhead, just like Lord Brahma very much wanted to do and did not want to be pulled into anything material while he created things that are material. The planets that are material. So Srila Prabhupada also makes it a point that a conditioned soul, a conditioned person is a diseased person. And if they say they're enjoying life materially, it's a false enjoyment. But when the person is cured and it comes to Krishna consciousness and he becomes healthy, then there's still enjoyment, but it's transcendental enjoyment. He's able to enjoy it. And we see examples of that in our own lives. Don't devotees jump up and down even more than they probably would do at a regular karmi party? When devotees attend, jump in Krishna consciousness when they're having a kirtan, they jump even more vigorously. So I've been in both sides because I was a karmi first before we, got by the mercy of Guru, we got initiated. And I've been to parties for karmis and seen my parties, kirtans by devotees. The kirtans are more vigorous. are more exciting, even on the physical level, more exciting. So, and anyone can dance whenever they want to. Hmm? And this is a healthy life. So, Srila Prabhupada is very, very, very much encourages us to get more and more and more into Krishna consciousness, all aspects of it as we can. Hmm? So we got to get to the point where we put our hearts into it. Because, yes, we start with sadhana bhakti, bhakti by instruction. Do this, don't do this, do this, don't do this. Hmm? It's like a person that's sick goes to a doctor, because our doctor is guru, and the doctor says, okay, to get better, you have to eat this food, you have to not eat this, you have to do this, you have to not do this. And the person has to follow that regimen, and then they improve, the body improves. So the fact is, at that time, when he's been restricted from some eatables, it's not like they don't want to eat it anymore. It's because there's a reason that's been given by the doctor. That's why the patient is following that. But they still think about the time that will come that it will go back to those things. So it's not a real situation where they've gotten away. The desires are still there. Mm-hmm. And so that's the situation that we're at when we're doing devotional service by instruction. But it should be a point, there should come a point where we are very, 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 very convinced about the need to do devotional service. And it's become a habit of doing devotional service. And then it's come even greater than the habit is actually liking to do it. First of all, being convinced that it is the best thing for us. Krishna consciousness service now. The best thing for us to like it and then get to the point where it says, I cannot think of doing anything but service. I will never be pulled away from doing service. That is the beginning of connection in love with the Supreme Personality Godhead. That is steadiness, and that is also the Baba platform, slowly, where the Lord is now opening up, making the devotee realize the nectar that's there in serving. And that is the point that we need to get to. It is definitely there for everybody. Krishna Prema is not for some people, and other people say, well, I'll never get. No. It is for everybody. And we can, in fact, all of us. And I've asked questions about that when the gurus were giving lectures about purity. And he says, yes. And I asked Chanamala Swami, you can work your way up to purity. Krishna doesn't stop anybody. Pure devotees don't brag that they are pure devotees, but they work at it to get to purity. If they were not directly from the spiritual world and already pure by the time they came here. But the devotee that is conditioned can, in fact, by taking seriously all the instructions and then building up to a point where it becomes a habit, they do it automatically. And then to the point where even when some services come, and it's not even for them, but the whole idea becomes how to make sure that I do my service and everything else that's supposed to be done in serving the Supreme Personality of Godhead and his devotees is being done. So that when there are changes, you jump in and try to help to get things going as best as you can. Do your service, but also be willing to help others in their service. That develops the heart connection with the Supreme Personality of Godhead in devotional service. And he will definitely, Krishna is very kind. He will definitely respond in kind to us by protecting us, by making our lives more exciting, making us have the better approach or consciousness towards reversals, that they are just part of life here. And of course, it's a reminder to us. We learn lessons from it, but it's also a reminder to us that we're not home. And we should prepare to go back. So reversals should make us, reversals, I mean disappointments, should make us even more determined to stay the course in Krishna consciousness. Srila Prabhupada and the whole parampara are rooting for us to go back home. That's what Krishna wants. He doesn't want us staying here in the material world. So we have a nice opportunity. It's all about taking advantage of it. That's what Prabhupada says. Why don't you take advantage of it? Why don't you take advantage of it? So we should help each other daily to remember Krishna and also to serve Krishna from our hearts. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Thank you very much, Hare Krishna. So now, if the devotees want to unmute and ask questions, share realizations, you can share some stories yourself. I've told quite a few, even personal ones, connected to Krishna, of course, so that we can.
Nice class, Prabhu. Thank you very much.
Krishna's mercy, Guru's mercy. Thank
you. You always say Krishna's mercy, that is your mercy. But it is so nice points you said. I thought of one sloka like Vishnupada Prabhu taught us. It was a thing. Tulyanam lavenapi nasurkam na purnabhavam. Bhagavat Sangha Sangasya Matyanam Kim Utasisha. The value of moments association with the devotee of the Lord cannot even be compared to the attainment of a heavenly planet or liberation from matter. And what to speak of worldly benedictions in the form of material prosperity, which are for those who are meant for death. So that sloka remembered me when you're saying that pure devotee association is very important. So yes, that's what the way you are giving the lectures, and then whenever your class, we enjoy that. No matter whether it is Krishna, no matter whether it is Krishna book or Bhagavatam or Bhagavad Gita. So you are bringing. So it's really, but it's very touching points you have. That's very good, Prabhu. Thank you very much.
Krishna's mercy is wonderful. I mean, and this morning I was reading, usually early in the morning. I read right now. I'm on Brihad Bhagavatamrita, and the sages at Naimisharanya. One thing they talked about. I'm actually beginning to get into the book quite a bit now because so many things now, even in the forward section, I learned stuff. This is wonderful. Anyway, so when Maharaj Pariksit was getting ready to leave the body, the 7 days had come to, which means Shukadeva Goswami had actually finished the Bhagavatam. So now Maharaj Pariksit had only a few hours, if that, to leave. He was totally fearless. Whoever Takshaka was, whenever he's going to get there, he didn't worry about that at all. But his mother, Uttara, came, and she requested that you have heard, my dear son, from Shukadeva Goswami. Can you summarize Bhagavatam just a little bit for my own development also in Krishna consciousness? Just paraphrasing the point. Now, so Shukadeva Goswami, Maharaj Pariksit started telling his mother, but he started from when the sages prepared in Naimisharanya to hear. Srila Goswami is going to tell. So the sages were beginning to talk about themselves, one sage to another. Now, they don't like to be praised, but they were praising each other. Oh, you've gotten the mercy of Krishna. You're such an elevated devotee of Krishna. And then the other person, no, you are elevated devotee of Krishna. Like that. So we're going back and forth like that. Now, I can't tell you anymore because that's where I'm actually at, reading it. More comes, read, I'll share. But we have Bhagavatamrita is wonderful. I heard a little bit of it from Rupa Swami in a retreat in Gitanagri. He talked, at that time. He hadn't even come out. They were still doing some editing of it. The Advaita Swami, they were all doing it at that time. But he had, gotten some information on it. So then he shared it at a retreat in Girinagri. And he shared the Gopakumara part of it. It's two, Narada Muni's part and Gopakumara's part. And he shared Gopakumara. And Gopakumara is wonderful. It's also the devotee of the Lord, in the mood of a cowherd boy. So it's so much is to be learned from Brihad.
Is there any book? Is there any book for that?
Brihad Bhagavatamrita.
Bhagavatam.
Brihad, yeah, Brhad Bhagavatamrita.
That's
Now
nice.
it's in 3 volumes now. Yeah, and I was fortunate to get it as a gift from my younger daughter. He bought it for me. He says, "Daddy, you like to read? So here, take Bhagavatamrita." I said, "Okay." Hare Krishna.
Hare
Class,
So, all
Krishna.
right.
class was very good.
Krishna's mercy.
Thank
Guru's
you
mercy.
very much.
Hare Krishna. Jai.
You
Any
were
other?
talking about your daughters taking initiation. So that is also a thought always in our minds, if our family members will take it up. How do you approach that? I mean, coming to Krishna consciousness is it's mercy. It's not
Yes.
something we can go demand, ask, try. The mercy also must come. So what is our duty as family members? How
Especially-
far? How do we? I am being told always, do not push, do not force, do not. But on the
Yeah.
other hand, Krishna is saying, give this message. I like people who give my message. So how do you do it practically?
When the children, we start from young, when they are little, and you have them just get excited about Krishna consciousness in play. Sri Papa himself started like that. He was giving small deities to serve. His father gave. So that, then they take it like, okay, well, that's the way life is. I'm a child, but this is what we do. So then they become a part of it. But when it comes to one who is an adult, member of the family, it's not so easy to change them. If they listen, or if they get excited about it, then the job is easier for you then, because then you can just introduce to them, you can guide and so on. If not, then your own example will speak volumes. It will speak volumes. That means they watch you, how you act. You act in the mode of goodness, and you're taking the transcendental, that is your character is the mode of goodness, and your service is one that you take very seriously. They will note those things. They will note those things. They may not say anything about it or even do it, but it will in fact have an effect on them. And speaking about that, there's a story about that too. I heard in Alachua in 1998. There was a devotee, there was a young man who had actually, the mom had put him in Gurukul for a while. The mom was a devotee, Papa disciple. And then later on, he didn't take Krishna consciousness so seriously. He joined the military. He was stationed, I forget where they were, but he was stationed, I think it was in the Middle East. And now he wasn't chanting, he wasn't doing anything like that. It was just like with the other soldiers. And they had their tents, because they sleep in the tents at night. And one night, in the middle of the night, all of a sudden they heard gunfire directed at them, which means they had been ambushed. And the bullets were coming. And he's telling his story now to us in front of there was a meeting in Alachua, and in that part of the meeting he was facing like about 50 or almost between 30 and 50 devotees, and he's in front of it telling us the story that he never took Krishna consciousness seriously, even though the parents were quite dedicated. So he's it may be Iraq, I'm not sure, but Middle East. In the middle of the night, the bullets start coming. And when he woke up, of course, the bullets make a lot of noise. Woke up, the first thing that came to his mind, he shouted, "Krishna!" That's the first thing he said. Krishna. Now, he was standing in front of us talking, which means he survived the ambush. He definitely survived. But he said, Krishna, and he said, when he told us that he screamed Krishna, then tears started flowing from his eyes right in front of us. He started crying, remembering the moment. And when he came out, he didn't pray, he just called Krishna's name one time, but screamed in Krishna's name. And he says when he came back to the United States, he immediately grabbed his beat back and started chanting. He hasn't stopped since. So the point is, these things that we do and help, or even just do around our family members, they may not do, but don't think they don't notice it. Yes, they do notice it. It has an effect. They cannot help but notice it because the subconscious picks up on everything. Our subconscious mind picks up on everything. So if you can't convince anyone, be a good example of Krishna consciousness and do it around them, especially when they're children, they don't chant. You chant where they can see you chanting. Don't chant in a room away or kind of they're doing here and you're there. No, especially when it comes to chant. Japa is so important. Do it right in front of them. Or at least where they can see. They may ignore you and mommy's chanting, daddy's chanting. Yeah. Do it in front of them. Do it in front of them. That's how we did to our children. Then they started chanting. And then the gurus also helped them more. I remember when they were little. But we have been, and it works. We have been advised, you do your service, especially with chanting, in front of the person that you would want to take up that too. So you don't force, but you be an example. Yeah, it does work. And then after, whenever they get to Krishna consciousness, like it happened to this young man when he joined the army, he changed quickly after that. Krishna would arrange that. Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Prabhu.
Krishna's mercy, Krishna's mercy. Hare Krishna.
That's a wonderful thing.
Krishna's mercy. Hare Krishna. Anyone else who want to share or ask a question? If not, then I hope those who went to New York Theater, they had a great time. It's always like that. We were there in spirit, even though we're sitting in our homes.
That's what we did. That's what we did too.
Yes, I'm speaking for myself and for you.
Yes, a lot of videos.
Wonderful.
Yeah, from home we did Radha.
Yeah, I saw one. The Donacharya was in a bus, the bus going to the rented bus going to the Rath Yatra, and then they were chanting. Nice kirtan going on in the bus as they were going. Hare Krishna. Anyway, we serve in every way we can. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
So, if no other questions or realizations, Hare Krishna, back to David. Vanchakalpatarubhisya kripa sindhubhya patitanam pavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namaha. Shri Prabhupada ki jai. Have a wonderful Sunday program coming up, I'm sure. Hare
Krishna Prabhuji, I went there. A lot of devotees were there. Weather was very, very pleasant. And I'm sure whoever was remember Krishna was blessing them too. Whoever could not go.
But we were there in spirit. Those of us that couldn't go, we were there in spirit. Hare Krishna. Thank you for that, for telling us what was going on. It's always exciting.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, Prabhu.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Shri Prabhupada ki